This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi guys.
So, Alex, I've invited Kelly to join us today to talk all things SEO. Welcome, Kelly, to our podcast.
Welcome, Kelly. Nice to have
Hi. Thanks for having me.
So we'll start with the weather, which we always start with. And I think for the first time ever, it's hot all places, right? So even here in the UK, we are hot. And Kelly, you are in France.
I'm in France, nearly 30 degrees. So yeah, it's really hot here.
And Alex, it's always hot where you are. So
Yeah. Whilst I'm in Colombia, I have had times when I've been in cold places.
So brilliant. So that's out of the way. Kelly, tell us a little bit about how did you get into SEO and your journey?
Yeah, so background of websites, basically. And I guess that's where I maybe stand out in the SEO world because I'm really fully into websites. I did websites, started doing websites 25 years ago. Starting with the HTML and all of that frames, building websites in frames, and yeah, like Netscape Navigator, like those kind of years. That is how old I am, and that's when I first got into websites. Sorry, noise, motorbike. And then, yeah, going into the SEO side of stuff because I just love trying to figure out why a website is not doing very well online and what makes it better. So yeah.
So when you started in the SEO world to where we are today, what have been the biggest developments or the biggest changes in that space?
It's funny with SEO because, well, okay, so websites have started 25 years ago-ish. SEO, I started investigating sort of about 15 years ago, and that's when I started getting really into it. Changes, really. When I started web design, people couldn't actually edit their own websites and things, and then WordPress came in and people could edit their own stuff, which is really great. But the problem sort of happens is when people are editing their own websites, they're not doing it in an SEO friendly way. So they're whacking big photos on to their own websites and it downloads slowly, for example. And a big SEO thing is the speed of the site. So that kind of change came in where people were able to edit their own websites, which is a great thing, do not get me wrong. It's just that people need to be trained in how to edit their own websites on that SEO perspective. And obviously you have got like these changes in the algorithms and how when we first started all this, people were able to rank really well for, I don't know, one keyword or like so black trainers or something like that. And you could put really odd things into, I don't want to swear on your podcast, but you could put crazy things into your web page and end up ranking for XXX or something like that because that's what you put into the keywords into the metadata, and then people would rank for these strange things. But now SEO's changed because you've got to add up the metadata with what's on your page. So those two things have got to align. I call it like the back end and the front end. So things like that have changed because Google gets wise to these black hat pack practices. So like so much has changed. There's just it changes all the time. And the one thing that I think is consistent is the fact that we need to look after our users, and that's where Google's got to today, where we're actually looking out for the users rather than just throwing keywords in to rank well online. So
So
good
when you
differences.
say looking after the users, do you mean about creating relevancy to the content, relevancy to what the person is searching for and what they're searching for, and instead of keyword stuffing and the person searching for something
Yeah.
and then they just get delivered content that's not actually related to them. Is that what you mean by looking after
Yeah.
the user, or is there something else
So
to it?
yeah, when I talk about looking after the user, it's definitely about okay, not doing that keyword stuffing. Everyone knows about keyword stuffing, which is, for people that don't know, grabbing a couple of keywords and then just putting it onto the page lots and lots of times without it making sense within the content, and then putting it onto the meta description and the meta title, and none of it sort of makes sense. What we need to do is actually write content that makes sense to the user, so it's explanatory, it's useful, it's transparent, it's thinking about how what people would want to read, and how they would learn from it. But also on a design side, it's about user experience. So are the buttons easy to click? Is there contrast between the colors of the links and the background of the page? And that helps SEO, because search engines are looking to help people with visual impairments or cognitive impairments so that they can click easily and they can see things easily. And that helps the rest of us. Erica, you're wearing glasses and you might find it a struggle on these, terrible websites with small, tiny writing and bad colours. So yeah.
Well, Alex is colorblind, so he's worse than me.
Exactly. Yeah, example. Perfect example. Do
Often
you find it tough, Alex, on certain websites?
Uh, no, I just live my life pretending that I don't have that
Yeah.
defect.
he'll
And then
just
it's just funny to people when I'm
he'll
really
just
convinced that I'm talking about this color.
he'll
Then-
convince you. He'll go, yes, Erica, it's the green one. I'm like, there's no green one on this page. He's like, no,
It's
but
like
it's the
pink.
green one, Erica. It's the green one.
Do you find that contrasting colours though? So say if there's a colour on top of another colour, do they merge sometimes, and you find it
Yeah,
difficult to read the text?
that's exactly what happened. And there's sets of colors where I have difficulties with. I have a really funny story that when all of the men on my mum's side of the family have the same deficiency, and we had one Christmas at my auntie's house, and she had this hanging banner, which was, it said Merry Christmas, but each patch contained a letter, and each patch the colors alternated. So the first one was a green patch with the red letter. The next one was the red patch with the green letter, and so on and so forth. And I remember sat on the sofa with my cousin saying, "It's got the M, it's got the R and the Y," and my cousin said, "No, it's got the E, it's got the R and the C." So we both saw that we thought they're like missing letters, but we saw the alternate ones, if you see what I mean. So
Yeah.
the opposite ones, because I have trouble with red on green, but he has trouble with green on red.
Mm-hmm.
So we were both looking at this thing thinking it was wrong, but we both saw the opposite problem, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's so interesting,
it's really
actually, to figure out people's different problems in life. It's really difficult to see certain fonts if you're dyslexic as well, and people don't understand that. And if you've written or done a logo or something that's really quite illegible, no one's going to keep that impression of you, are they? They're not going to understand what your brand is or what it's about.
No,
So
exactly, yeah.
all of these things for marketing, and that's what I love about SEO. You have to look after the person you're doing these websites for.
I mean, it's a very complex world, because the nuances between deficiencies and some yeah, can be vast. Like I said, red on green for me doesn't work, and green on red for my cousin doesn't work. So we still have the same deficiency, but the combination is different. And with the dyslexia, I think my brother has a trouble, because he's dyslexic. He has trouble reading black on white, which is strange because most books and things are black on white, and that for him, it
See the gaps
kind of
between, yeah.
merges, and the best for him, I think it's like, yeah, I think that's right. I can't remember exactly now, but there's a combination which works really well. And if you give him the same set of text, the same font, same spacing, and just change the background color to, I think it's yellow. I don't know why I think it's yellow, but I think it's yellow. Anyway, and then the letters don't jump around. But when it's
Yeah.
white on black, the letters jump around.
Yeah, and different fonts, I think, do it to different people as well. And I think with so we've got browsers, and this is for people that don't know. If someone is can't see at all, they would use a screen reader basically.
Yeah.
So actually, all the SEO kind of code and stuff that you're putting in the background of the page helps that person, helps that screen reader. And if it's clear for that person with the impairments because they can read, the screen reader will read through the code like really clearly and simply and easily. Whereas some websites are not coded like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine this, and especially some very visual websites that they're heavily animated, I guess maybe with animated text or images that are kind of working together.
Yeah, people get into trends, and I think that is the case. I see a lot of trends over the years as well with some people like, great big animations on their homepage, which are all sort of flashy and things. And actually, that's really bad for SEO because A, the user doesn't know where they're going. B, they've got to sit there, over time waiting for this thing to happen. They just want the information. They really want this information first. Unless you're like Banksy, no one's going to be hanging around like waiting for your stuff to download. No. So that's why we want speed, and that's why we want it to, the information to be accessible really quickly. Yeah.
And that talks to a lot of obviously the focus we have, which is really working on the target. Do you know who your target audience is? Do you know the people that you want to attract? Because a lot of the time, I'm sure you have this as well, is especially small business owners will be like, but I like it red on green, but I like the big flashy animations. And you're like, actually, it doesn't matter.
Even when people are thinking about, okay, their own audience and things, they will think about whether or not they might like that flashy, thing, animation. But what they're not thinking about is the amount of money that people could spend that are impaired in some sort of way, and they're just cutting that whole currency out, which I think they call it the purple pound. And okay, it's not all about money. I don't mean it like that, but you are cutting a whole load of people out if you're not making your website accessible, and you're cutting the search engines out. So, SEO is a win-win situation for me in that respect.
Absolutely.
Are there any 101s for SEO when it comes to making your site as optimal as possible for accessibility, no matter kind of what style your website? Is there any kind of rules of thumbs that you should be ticking?
Yes. So ease of navigation, and you can code most CMS systems like WordPress and things like that will code the website fairly well these days, so people can flick through using a keyboard, and the code is easily read as well, like I said, on a screen reader. So ease of navigation, nice big fonts, distance between the menu items, big buttons, big fonts, fast downloading images. There are a lot of things to think about, when you're thinking about an accessible website, and that one that is SEO friendly. So yeah.
And I never thought about what you just said about navigating a website through. You said through the arrows. You could sort of
so
go
people
through the menu items.
Exactly, maybe have cognitive impairments and can't control a keyboard in the same way that maybe you or I can, will use a keyboard. And people that are visually impaired as well wouldn't click through using a mouse as we would. So they have to click through with it using a keyboard, and that's all to do with how the web page is coded. So they would move around with the buttons, be able to move down, the drop menus and all sorts, and move through the website that way. So yeah, there's a lot more to a website and the way it's coded than just sort of it looking pretty,
Wow, I hadn't actually thought through. I mean, how often do we hide things in drop-down menus, right?
Yeah, people can get around
thinking
as
that
long
it
as
looks better, but
yeah.
actually, if there's not another way for someone to get to that page, if they don't use a mouse, then what are you going to do?
Another trick is to use a footer menu as well, so you double up on those links around the website.
Yeah, and I've actually been learning a little bit recently about accessibility on a website just from a practical point of view, because I've just started working with a guy who is blind. He's completely blind, but he is very digitally savvy, and he's always on websites and stuff like that. So I'm learning how he is navigating websites, and I'm also learning um, what types of sites are not friendly for those who might be blind, for example, because there's some sites that I have to do some of the work on because he cannot, because it's very, very difficult, especially when it comes to things like forms and sign up and payments and things like that. And actually, like payments can be quite difficult because more, and that's also from a banking point of view, because some you get sent through a code sometimes, like a two-step
Yeah,
verification. The two-step verification can be really, really difficult for somebody
people
who's
can't be
blind.
fast enough. Yeah,
Exactly, and he's had to have help from from someone that he lives with sometimes to get the code when, because I've been working on some of his accounts, and uh then we have to do a two-step verification, and then he needs additional help to read the number that's come from the 2FA. So there's lots of steps that you don't really think of necessarily if you do not have that disability yourself or know somebody who does. And like what Erica was saying, oh yeah, but when we're making this, it looks so much better if we hide this piece of text or something in the drop down. Like, I don't know, a drop down can be difficult for somebody if they don't have the full capacity, you know?
drop downs in the menu system, the navigation system, aren't so bad as long as it's coded well. That's the point. So they're not so bad. One thing that people do use a lot in their websites are those accordions. You know, when you have like a Q&A or something and you put a little
Yeah,
question in and you can drop down the box and they look really pretty because they come up and down. Yay! That's hiding content. So in the search engine side, you're
yeah.
hiding content. So you're not being transparent. And that's another little thing that I would go onto a website and just take it all out of an accordion because you're hiding stuff. So
I didn't know that. Hang on, that's
I
actually a really
I
good
don't
point.
either. Do we have
Yeah.
do we have that on our website, Alex?
everyone goes
I,
up and checks
no,
websites when I start saying stuff like this.
yeah, I want to ask you about that then, because I had no idea. I've always had I was always taught that FAQs are good for SEO because there's lots of
They
questions.
are brilliant.
They create content. They're a good source of content in terms of talking about your product and maybe general questions, and they can also form search terms that people may be searching for, like how do I do da 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 whatever. So it works well. But what I did not know is that what you just said about the accordion.
Yeah,
So
you're hiding content if you're putting
how
into that accordion system.
how should you design an FAQ section?
I mean, hilariously, the best web page is like this most simple web page ever. You've got a title, an H1 tag as the title. You've got an introduction because you've got your keywords in there and you're going to explain this thing. And then, even with an FAQ page, you'd have, the question as a H2 tag, a heading 2 tag, which if you've updated your website, you can see. And then the answer, which is really clear and it's on the page, it's not hidden. And so, really, a perfect web page is actually very, very simple. But you would also have an image and a video in there as well. So, keep it simple, keep it really, really easy to use. And yes, you can put nice colors and things like that, but just thinking about how people are going to see it as well.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. I I always thought accordions are the go-to element
Fashion, it's a
for
trend. Yeah.
FAQ.
Well,
So
we've
even
learned
if
something
you,
today.
yeah, so even having, because I'm kind of allergic to some to
Pages
things
of
that are,
text.
if you had to help someone like me who is allergic to that and like something pretty, what's the middle ground for that?
It's actually really difficult because SEO is a huge balance, and I know, as a really sort of design heavy website designer would probably hate what I'm saying because it's difficult. You want this pretty design, you want it to look nice, but SEO loves content and loves clear and easy content. I mean, if you're going to do FAQs and you've got enough of an answer for each question, why don't you make that into a blog? So into a blog posts. So say you've got a question, you can answer it within 600 words or something like that. So that's a fair amount of text itself. You could have a whole blog post about that and then use possibly, the page where you're navigating to those answers as a cornerstone piece. So you've got like lots of questions, short answers on that page, and then push them off into a blog post or something like that to answer the question a little bit more. And actually, that's great content right there. So,
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
mm,
That gives you more space, because often you end up with FAQs with just reams and reams of answers.
huge. Yeah,
But then
mine is too big, I know, but it keeps building.
to move those answers into blogs, just have the short form and then redirect. And actually, SEO loves all the redirects and linking together as well.
They love all the linking and that big, kind of website full of content as well. So
No, I think I think is it Zendesk or is it HubSpot? I can't remember. It's either Zendesk or HubSpot that have a help section that I think is something like that. In terms of you search
HubSpot
so
for
they've sent you.
yeah, and then it sends you to almost like a blog type article on it. So I guess they're really
SEO
doing a good
gurus.
job. Yeah, on that point.
Yeah, and what was I going to say? I've lost it. I can't remember what I was going to say, but
But
oh, I know what I was going to say. A really good way of doing it is rather than linking, so you've done your FAQ, a lot of people sort of have a read more link or something like that, which actually doesn't make sense in the search engine's mind. What is better is to put the keywords in the link. So I don't know how to do SEO in that link. So the keywords in that link, and the search engine knows that they're just about to go onto a blog post that is about that subject, and that is the way to do a link. It's called anchor text, and it's a way of showing the search engines where they're going to end up.
Oh, another good tip. Ooh, we're learning lots today.
We are. So I have another question about on-site and off-site SEO, because you often hear those terms being thrown around. And I guess just for those who may not know what the difference is, and who those that just thought SEO is one thing you do, I guess there's a kind of two parts to it, right?
There's
Is that
lots of
correct?
parts to SEO actually. Yeah, so I call myself an organic SEO expert, which is about like non-paid for. But then you've got, so part of that is on page and off page, like you say. So I've spoken about on page stuff most of this chat, where we're talking about how to do your blog posts, how to design your website so it is better for SEO. Off-page stuff is stuff like Google My Business, and the links back to your website, and where if you're on lots of directories. And off-page SEO stuff is like LinkedIn articles, and they're linking back to your website. And a really good thing to know about off-page SEO is consistency. So it's called NAP consistency, name, address, phone number. So if you as a business have got inconsistent information all over the net, the search engines don't know that you're one company. So you're calling yourself different stuff. It could even be down to a very small change, like you call yourself Erica M on some sites, but you call yourself Erica Mackay on other sites. So you've got to be really consistent all across the net. And that's like off-page SEO. Your links are correct, your opening times are correct, your business name is correct, and all that. You can search your business name and search your own name in speech marks and see what comes up, see if it's all consistent.
Ah, great tips. Great.
That is interesting. So I was working with a business that has a hyphen in the name. And when I started, in some places it had the hyphen, some places it didn't have the hyphen, some places the two words were joined together. And I didn't I didn't think of it from an SEO point of view. I just purely thought of it from a brand point of view.
Yeah.
Where's the consistency in that? But so that's a really, really interesting point you said. I mean, it does two things: the brand side and the
Yeah.
SEO, because that's two very different things. If you have two separate words without a hyphen, they're completely not
Search
connected.
engines think you're a completely different company. Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, if you think of it from a person's point of view, because I keep going back to the fact that we should be thinking about the user, you think about it from a person's perspective, they're going, oh, is that H-B and O, or is that, I don't know which link am I meant to choose? And then they get bored because you have a split second and they don't click on that link because they don't know it's you. They're confused. So you have to be really consistent with, definitely with your brand. What annoys a user basically annoys search engines. So yeah.
Absolutely. And it all comes down to that user, as you say, and the fact that we're all inherently lazy. If you have to make me think for a second, I've moved on, right? My brain does not need that extra work to try and figure out, is this you? Is this the one I'm looking for? No, I'm not interested. I'll move on, right?
It's like your last podcast where you were talking about you going to the networking event in your onesie. And it's the first impression. So if someone looks your brand up online, okay, what are they seeing? Are they seeing this old logo and you've not even realised, and it just looks, I don't know, foolish, lazy. It looks like the brand is not keeping up to date. So
Yeah.
SEO is all about that consistency and that first impression when someone Googles you, or even the second or third impression, because people are starting to get to know you and they've had touch points with you and now they're going to search for you. So what does come up when you search yourself online? It's vain, but interesting. You've got to do it as a small business, right?
Absolutely. Even a big business, you definitely need
Oh
to
yeah.
see what's out there. With big businesses, often it's negative PR, right? That you need to know about. You need to make sure there's not complaints about you out there that you don't know about.
Oh, I would use that and just do a blog post about it. Try and get above it.
But if you don't know it's there, you're missing the opportunity, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one
I've
because. Sorry, Alex. I just wanted to say I also get annoyed. Like if I get approached by someone and I go to the website and there's like a spelling error in the first paragraph or something, like I'm immediately turned off. I know that's terrible, and I try and like rise above it, going, shame, maybe they're just starting or whatever. It's a small business, but actually, it's kind of skewed me already in terms of, well, how seriously will you take my business if you can't even take your own website seriously? How accurate will the billing be? Will are they just going to be errors everywhere from now on? Maybe we
There
don't
is a
need to
big
talk.
thing, and grammar and spelling is a really big thing in SEO as well, because obviously, if you've got a website full of grammatical errors, well, the search engines can read that page. It knows how to spell. They know how to spell. And again, from a user perspective, you're coming on and it just looks awful. It looks like a spammy website right there. And actually, spam websites will spell things wrong because they are targeting people that can't spell. So get your grammar and spelling right. Yeah.
So it just came to my mind because we keep on talking about Google, and so I've actually got two questions that kind of in one. Are there any differences? Do we need to? I mean, I guess like Google in most places is 90% of the web browsers that everyone's using. Do we need to consider other web browsers are the algorithms different, and do they treat SEO slightly differently to other search platforms such as Yahoo treat have different parameters for its SEO than Google?
Yeah, they do.
Um,
As in, I do concentrate. I'm actually really guilty of concentrating on Google too much, but you get a lot of traffic over from Bing because it is installed on a Microsoft computer like as standard. So you will find that people not installed, but it's there as a default. Um, so you can't forget about those other search engines. There are little things like the title tag. Bing will make it slightly longer. so you can use more words, but Google has a slightly shorter title tag, and there are so the little nuances that, but generally everyone's trying to keep up with Google at the moment. So yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And then with the introduction of AI search, ChatGPT search, and Bing search that are becoming AI powered. I mean, how does that must, well, at least at some point, start to really affect the parameters of SEO from the search engine point of view, especially as it becomes more more in tune with the user and how they're using it. And maybe when we're talking about spelling errors or something, maybe, I don't know, maybe it can read it and understand it and still realize that there might be value for the user despite there being a spelling mistake. I don't know, maybe it becomes even more complex from that point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything that you've learned or read or can see coming that maybe we can start thinking about from
Google,
point of view?
oh, sorry, Alex. Google can definitely tell. So obviously the spelling error side of stuff, if you've got like, I don't know, Americanisms and then an English spelling or something like that, they can tell that you mean that. And when you've got if you've got one spelling error in your website, don't have a panic attack about it because Google can figure it out. It's just that, you know, if it's riddled with that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm finding artificial intelligence very interesting. It's going to change the world of SEO for, yeah, because obviously there are some people that don't even bother going on to Google anymore. It's literally, they're doing like AI searches. So it's interesting to watch. I definitely can't predict the future, but I don't think that AI is going to completely take over because you've still got the fact that um, when you're optimizing your website, you need to be unique and you need to have this personality and you need to be different from everyone else. Google knows a little bit like stock images. Google can tell if it's like AI generated stuff. They can tell, you know, stock images as well, like because obviously that image has been put out on the internet loads and loads of time. So when you're thinking about anything like the content on your website, just make sure it's original and make sure that it is unique to you and you are getting some sort of human opinion across because yeah, that's how Google will go.
So the traditional search results in Google, where maybe the first two are, you know, the paid results, and then you have your SEO organic ranking. I guess that's going to change. The format will be changing with AI searches, will it not? Because it become maybe more specific, more to the way the person is searching. Or now we can ask really specific questions with AI. We can even write a paragraph and it understands that, and then we'll return searches. Whereas before we were just working on like a few keywords and maybe some long tail keywords. So I'm just wondering, like, how would that change things, or is it more that it's the AI that's doing the work rather than you need to do extra work on your SEO?
Well, I'm just wondering actually, because you're right. I wonder in the future, will Google respond where, okay, so as you type things into AI and AI is kind of like, I guess, lifting things from people's websites, will you find that that comes into the search results and then therefore, I don't know, would we be able to put our brands out as people are finding these things on AI? I don't know. I've got, no idea. It
Because
will be interesting to see.
yeah, because also AI is returning not just one result. It's sometimes saying, well, I've found this information from these websites, and sometimes it just
And
groups
then
it
it
together.
amalgamates it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you don't
it's
even
just
see the website.
no, exactly. And I was reading about that somewhere, I can't remember now, saying that some large publishers are worried about the fact that now AI means that people don't need to go onto their website. So the AI bot is going onto the website, grabbing the information, exactly what they've asked for, and bringing it to them, rather than someone going onto the website and seeing, oh, I like this product, oh, I like
Branding
this
and
product, I like
yeah.
this product, Like that experience that the user is going through is going to completely change from
Yeah.
from a searching point of view.
Do you think it depends on what people want? Because if they're just looking for the answer to a question for, I don't know, an article they're writing or something like that, that's when someone would use something like AI to find that information. You're not going around the internet curating content anymore. You're just lifting it with AI, which is great, and I think that's a great tool. But if you're looking for a business, would you want to go and find out more about them? You're not really going to go through this wall that is AI. You want a person, but behind the face behind the business. Yeah, what do you think? Like, you need.
Yeah, I think, and it actually talks to something that I heard at a talk the other day, which is the death of marketing qualified leads. Because the definition of a marketing qualified lead is someone's visited your website, right? So that's from a marketing perspective. Oh, they searched for this keyword, ended on our website, therefore we pass them on to sales, going, here we go. But actually, if they were just looking for content, they're not purchasing, they're a waste of time. So this will be good for us, because you can separate out the people who are just wanting content for whatever reason that is, and information, versus the people who want to buy, because the people who want to buy are going to go find
on
the
there.
website.
I love that.
So then you'll get a better marketing qualified lead, because then the person actually visiting your website is actually interested, versus someone who's just content shopping for whatever, for an article or research or whatever. Because a lot of the time, because you're doing good content, you're going to get a mix of those. You're going to get people who are not in the purchasing cycle. They're just content readers. But this way you can strip it out. So actually there could be a positive coming from a marketing qualified lead perspective, in that we actually will get real visitors to our website.
Yeah,
as long as analytics split it properly. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and that is a good point, and it kind of reminds me of the GDPR. Like people are saying, "Oh, GDPR is a terrible thing," blah 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 blah, because now it's going to be really hard to get leads. But then you think, well, actually, the people you do have who do go through the more stringent GDPR processes are actually more interested, and they really want it, rather than just phishing. But so that just means that we're just sort of sieving out the maybe people, and we're getting the more low hanging fruit.
Sieving out time wasters, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I've seen a lot over time where in the web world, first Dreamweaver came in and everyone said, oh, website designers are out of a job because everyone could do the website in Dreamweaver. Can anyone use Dreamweaver? No. WordPress came in, everyone said, website designers are out of business. There's always going to be something that is coming along to replace, or making us a little bit lazier, or replace something that we need to do or don't need to do anymore.
I completely agree with that philosophy, and that's my philosophy of AI. Everyone is getting totally panicky about their jobs. I think, well, use it as another tool. Use it
as the tool. Yeah, and keep genuine. Stay true to your knowledge and just being unique, really. A bit more creative.
Fantastic. Well, that has been, I think we could probably carry on talking for another hour. That has been fabulous, Kelly. Thank you so much. Do you want to leave our listeners with your top 3 SEO tips? What's the top 3 takeaways you'd like people to leave with today?
Too many. One is research your key phrases. So if you are going to write blog posts, please don't waste your time on just writing in the dark and not knowing what people are actually searching for. Research your terms, and there are free tools online you can do that with. Always think about the user, and like I was saying earlier in the podcast, think about the people that have got impairments, so cognitive or visually, and that will actually help your website to do really well on search engines. And my third is possibly like have the blinkers and just think about the user, make your website as good as it can be for your users, and don't really think about the search engines. Answer the questions that for your audience, and that is going to help you do really well online.
Fantastic. Love it. And if people want to... Sorry, Alex?
I just want to say I think I'm guilty on all three counts there of not paying attention to those three key points.
And you're going to go and check out our FAQ straight away, Alex, straight away. And if people want to get hold of you, Kelly, to carry on chatting about this awesome SEO conversation or any of your services, how can they do that?
Well, because I'm consistent online, it's KD Web, KAYDEE Web. I made it up when I was 19, so don't judge me. So I'm KD Web across the internet. And I've also got a web school, which is Web Untamed, and you can come onto some free workshops. I've got a keyword research workshop that maybe Alex should come on, apparently. And I've got a content creation workshop. I've got one that's coming up, which is about sort of being penalized by these search engines and about backlinks and links and things like that. So lots of free workshops for you to get involved with, and you can find me anywhere you like, any platform.
Sounds fabulous. Well, thank you so much again, Kelly. It's been great having this chat. Alex, anything you want to end with?
No, just thank you very much. And I learned a lot, so I'm sure our listeners will have learned a lot too.
Good. Thank you, guys. It's been great to be here.
We'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.